Some cryptids, like the thylacine and the moa, are definitely within the realm of possibility, especially since they once existed. Some cryptids, like the Bahi and the Araka monster, have never been proven to exist, but could well exist, owing to the strength of witness sightings. And some cryptids have been unlike any animals we have ever seen, heard of, or been able to comprehend, yet they also have convincing evidence associated with them. This is one of them. The Chupacabra is a creature said to inhabit part of the Americas, but which has also travelled further afield. Sightings of the Chupacabra began in Puerto Rico in the early 70s and 90s, allegedly after some kind of underground explosion in the jungle, and only found out since. The name translates literally from Spanish as goatsucker, and it comes from its habit of feeding, but more on that later. The creature tends to have three sets of appearances, the first of which is a lizard-like being with leathery or scaly greenish-grey skin, and sharp quills or spines running all down its back. It tends to be 3 to 4 feet, and hops much like a kangaroo. It's said to have an alien-like face, with huge slanted eyes, fangs and a forked tongue, to screech when alarmed or annoyed, and to leave a foul stench behind. The second looks like a wallaby or dog, standing on its hind legs. It also hops like a kangaroo, but has coarse fur, with greenish facial hair. The head is quite similar to a dog's, and its mouth has large teeth. The third form is more like some strange breed of wild dog, mostly hairless, but it has a pronounced spinal ridge and unusually large eyes. Some reports also mention the Chupacabra's red eyes, as well as seeming hideously evil, have the power to immobilise and hypnotise, much like the eyes of the vampire bat. Around 1975, people in and around the town of Mocha began reporting the killings of many different types of animals, such as birds, horses, rabbits, and of course, goats, so the creature allegedly doing it became known as El Vampiro de Mocha, and the killings all had something in common. Each of the animals found dead would have 2 punctured holes in its neck, all drained of blood. In the early 1990s, these killings escalated, and the first official report was made in March 1995. 8 sheep were discovered dead, each with 3 puncture wounds in the chest area, and reportedly completely drained of blood. Furthermore, a woman named Madeline Tolentino claimed she saw it through a picture window outside her house, in Canovanas, during the second week of August 1995. She remembered it as having eyes that were damp and protruding, running right up to its temples and spreading to the sides, like typical alien eyes. Its height was, in her own words, about 4 feet, more or less. At the time, it was walking like a human, on both legs. Its arms were drawn back in an attack position, as if it were a TV monster. She said it had 3 long, skinny fingers, and its arms were also very long. Its hair was rather short and close to its body, rather well combed in fact. She also said it had some round things on its torso, and the region seemed ashen, as if something had burned it there. The burn revealed pinkish-purple skin, as if the top layer had fallen off. The creature's legs, she claimed, were very long and skinny, and I could see 3 separate toes. She said they were similar to goose feet, and it had something like webbing between its toes. The creature turned away, ran into the road, leapt off into the tall grass in a neighbouring vacant lot, and disappeared. Furthermore, in Canovanas, about 30 citizens claimed to have seen it, swearing it had swooped down from the sky and leapt over treetops. In November 1995, one autumn night, farmers woke to a horrifying scene. Turkeys, rabbits, goats, cats, dogs, horses and cows dead, with no explainable cause, just mysterious markings left on the neck. And of course, I'm sure dismissive skeptical people will point out of hand that these encounters are silly, superstitious peasant tales. But not only is this a distinctly arrogant approach, and not only does it smack of a pre-existing atheistic or skeptical bias, but even people in positions of authority, with qualifications and so-called rational minds, saw it too. A police officer, called to investigate the death of a sheep, became aware, through an eerie feeling, that something was watching him. Turning, he found a 5-foot-tall creature with glowing eyes. He tried to pursue it, but its sulphur-like nauseous stench made him collapse. Sometime later, a man named Luis Guadalupe then came to the police station, claiming he had an encounter with the thing. Said Luis, "It was really ugly, like a demon. It was around 4 to 5 feet tall, with huge elongated eyes. It moved like a kangaroo, by jumping with huge elongated legs. It had a long pointed tongue, which it moved in and out of its mouth." And the sightings continued and continued and continued. In the north-central city of Caguas, a startled homeowner then caught another glimpse of the creature. Describing it as having huge red eyes, it allegedly broke into the bedroom of the house through a window, tore apart a child's stuffed teddy bear, left a puddle of slime and a piece of rancid meat, then disappeared. And it did not stop there at all. Throughout the end of 1995 alone, there were reported to be over 1,000 mysterious animal deaths. By 1997, there were over 2,500. Rabbits, goats, hens, livestock. It then began to be reported from Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, El Salvador, Panama, Peru, Brazil, Mexico and the United States, even in Russia. In that same year, a huge wave of attacks occurred in the Puerto Rican town of Utuado. 42 chickens, various rabbits and a duck were found dead on November 20, all with puncture wounds. In 1998, residents of Barrio Playa found a number of dead animals, and once more, a police officer responded to the scene. Officer Rogelino Orsini found 17 dead rabbits, 4 dead guinea hens, 2 hens, several chicks and a rooster. According to his report, documented on paper, the animals had presented perforations on their necks or stomachs and were completely bloodless. He also concluded, as a trained criminal investigator, that it was not the handiwork of a dog or an ordinary animal. And indeed, not only did it appear not to be the handiwork of a dog or ordinary animal, but the encounters, spreading all out across Central and South America and other regions of the world, were the same. In 1998, in August, the Chupacabra arrived in Monterrey in Mexico. The farmer who owned the farm, so terrified that he wouldn't give his name, found that not only were 2 of his chickens drained of blood, but that all their internal organs had been removed. In 1996, at the farm of Don Pedro in Poblela, several sheep were mutilated, but against all odds, somehow stayed alive for a short period of time after this. When a researcher arrived and filmed the sheep, they were still alive, and when she put her hand inside one of them and drew it out, there was barely any trace of blood, and the creature was still alive, even in spite of having been drained of blood and having internal organs missing. 100 miles to the south, farmers and peasants saw strange lights in the sky, then 30 animals were mutilated, all of whom were completely drained of blood. In Mexico, people hung up crosses on the walls to protect themselves from the chupacabras, and referred to them as vampiros. In Grand Haven, Michigan, a 42-year-old man claimed he saw it suck the blood of a cat. In July 2008, a 32-year-old woman said she was driving with her lights on when she witnessed a strange grey kangaroo-like creature digging in a trash bin next to the road in Holly. It appeared to be over 3 feet tall, with glowing red eyes. The creature reached the ground with its front arms and jumped forward with its back legs, swinging in front of it before disappearing into the woods. In August 2008, a DeWitt County deputy filmed an unidentified animal near Cuero, Texas. The animal was about the size of a coyote, but was hairless, with a long snout, short front legs and long back legs. Allegedly capturing it on film was actually progress, because it certainly couldn't seem to be killed or captured in any other way. Canovanas policeman Juan Colazo shot one, and instead, the bullet bounced off. In another case, a man named Jos Sanchez found his rabbits dead in his backyard. Angrily, and rightfully suspecting the chupacabra might be to blame, he claims he lay in wait for the creature. Sure enough, it returned a few days later. He ambushed it, dazzled it with his torch and tried to kill it with his machete, and all it did was make a hollow sound. Then it escaped. But what could this chupacabra be? The theories are almost as varied as the species themselves. Some people think these creatures are American experiments that escaped from a lab in Puerto Rico. America sadly has a long history of using Puerto Rico as a place where it indeed does do experiments. After all, especially back in the day, these people were just Latinos, not proper Americans, so why not? America did experiments with thalidomide, Agent Orange, radiation weapons and a lot more, so are biolabs so unheard of? And furthermore, they were no by means averse to causing inconvenience to humans, or even damaging humans. At one stage, male prisoners were injected with female hormones to see the effects. You might say they were woke before their time, and one Rockefeller Institute scientist, disgustingly, even wrote, "The Puerto Ricans are the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate and thievish race of men ever inhabiting this sphere. All physicians take delight in the abuse and torture of these unfortunate subjects." Given the underground explosion that allegedly predated the rise of the chupacabra, and given the belief in Puerto Rico that the chupacabra was a genetic experiment from a US government lab in El Yunque, it does make you wonder. Some cryptozoologists also wonder if the creatures are aliens. Remember that in its slanted-eyed South American form, the chupacabra, facially, closely resembles a grey alien. The greyish skin, the hypnotic eyes, the otherworldly behaviour, the link to UFOs. It has to be said that given the flying saucers and flying craft occasionally seen around it, and given how it sucks blood with medical precision, much as the precision reported during American cattle mutilations, some people wonder if this isn't some kind of alien biorecon vehicle, engineered by the aliens themselves to collect blood, tissue, organs and samples for analysis. It sucks up these things with the precision of a surgeon, stores them, then returns to base and turns them over, almost like a biological robot. Some, and I can understand why, theorise that the chupacabra is some kind of demon. We have to remember that demons, aka Satans, aka Shayateen, aka jinns, aka genies, exist in all kinds of different cultures. Some spirits are good, some bad. And what do demons often do? appear with a foul smell. And what do they often have? Evil, wicked eyes. And what do they often do? Come with an audible aura of fear and terror. The supernatural vibe, the evil deeds, and the different varieties of Chupacabra do seem to suggest something demonic. Remember that demons can shapeshift, can't be harmed by regular means, and are elusive and can become invisible, which also seems to lend weight to this. Note how Mexicans call the Chupacabras the vampiros, and also note how they believe that crosses and symbols can keep them away. Also, curiously enough, South American rainforest natives believe in the Mosquito Man, a mythical, spirit-like creature that long since predates Chupacabra sightings. And what does the Mosquito Man do? He sucks the blood of animals through his long nose, like a big mosquito, leaving no injuries. Interesting. Some, also, have claimed the Chupacabra sightings and encounters must all be made up, and the particular sighting of Madeline Tolentino must have been made up because she saw a movie beforehand that she must have based it off of. The movie, Species, did indeed come out around the time that Tolentino reported her cryptid sighting. In the movie, Natasha Hendridge played Syl, a sexualized alien-human hybrid. Syl, when she took shape, was an insect-inspired humanoid with long figures, reddish slanted eyes and spikes on her back. Species was released in Puerto Rico on July 7th, 1995, a month before Madeline reported her sighting, and in all fairness to people who debunk her claim using this, she did claim to have seen the movie. But how does that explain everyone else who saw these strange, bizarre things? Is every single one of them, on multiple continents, making it up? Including in poorer, more isolated regions where nobody has heard of such things? In addition, the claim made by the Puerto Rican government, via the head of the government's Agricultural Department of Veterinarian Services, Dr. Hector Garcia, that the creatures are just being killed by parasites and that people are seeing escaped feral dogs and monkeys, this also seems ridiculous. Feral dogs are doing this, draining whole animals and their internal organs with no major signs of internal damage. Plus, his claim that these are escaped lab animals is interesting. Is the government trying to imply that yes, something lab-related was the result, but also to play it down? It makes me wonder about the lab and the alien hypothesis. That's not to say, however, that there's any proof yet. Multiple times when a Chupacabra has been shot or sighted on camera, it turned out to be a dog with mange, or a regular animal with some kind of mutation, and in some cases the evidence was lost. In August 2007, one Phyllis Canyon found 3 strange dead animals in Cuero, Texas. She and her neighbours purported to have discovered the 3 strange animals outside her property. She took photos of the carcasses and preserved the head of one in her freezer before turning it over for DNA analysis. Canyon said that nearly 30 chickens on her farm had been killed over a period of years, which made her link the carcass with the Chupacabra. But according to an analysis, the head turned out to be none but that of a regular coyote. In August 2008, when the DeWitt County deputy filmed an unidentifiable animal on his dashboard camera, it also seems to resemble a coyote. And in mid-August 2006, Michelle O'Donnell of Turner, Maine, found an evil-looking, rodent-like animal with fangs dead alongside the road. It seemed to have been struck by a car, and was absolutely unidentifiable. Photos were taken, and the witness reports seemed to be in relative agreement that the creature looked like a dog, but the widely publicised photos don't seem to show any kind of brown dog or wolf. But the carcass, of course, was picked clean by vultures before experts could examine it, in spite of the fact that for years, residents of Maine have reported a mysterious creature and a string of dog maulings. So overall, we have a picture that is very frustrating. We have just enough evidence to suggest that something unusual is going on, but without any clear proofs to substantiate it. We have just enough evidence that these things can't be explained away by so-called rational means, but no proofs of the irrational ones causing them. We have enough proof that people are terrified, but no living specimen of what is terrifying them, and the Chupacabra, as I fear it always will remain as it is. Unproven, unchallenged, dwelling in the shadows of allegory, but occasionally slinking out of the shadows in a burst of terror.